Welcome to the series, Speaking Up for Point Molate. Janet, can you share the first slide, please? This is a speaker series in which speakers are invited to address key questions and issues about Point Molate, and members of the public can ask questions. We begin with a land acknowledgement. We live on the ancestral and unceded land of the Ohlone people. Consistent with our values of community, inclusion, and diversity, it's important that we not only recognize the history of the land where we live, but also recognize that the Ohlone people are members of our local and Bay Area communities today. We thank them for their contributions, which have transformed our community and will continue to bring growth and unity. We commit to sustaining ongoing relationships with the Ohlone people to build a better future for all that now make this their home. Our speaker, Jeff Peterson, will speak for 30 to 40 minutes. Then we'll answer questions. And we're fortunate today to have Jack Scheinman with us, who will also be answering questions during the Q&A. Please limit questions to 1 minute. If you'd like to raise more complex issues, please put them in the chat so we can consider them for future sessions. And though issues around Point Molate can be contentious, let's be polite and courteous. Also, please use the chat to let us know how we can improve, or leave your email if you'd like us to send announcements directly to you. All chats will appear in the recording. We will post the web page for the speaker series in the chat. This session and future sessions will be recorded and posted to that page, the YouTube channel Speaking Up for Point Molate, as well as the Point Molate Alliance website. Next week, our speaker will be Dr. 𝐉𝐞𝐟𝐿 𝐏, who directs a lab at the Ocean Estuary Institute in Chevron, who studies Point Molate's eelgrass. She will talk about the unique characteristics and significance of Point Molate's over 100 acres of eelgrass meadows. I'm Pam Stello. I'm co-founder of the speaker series with Sally Tobin. I'm co-chair of the Point Molate and the Richmond Shoreline Alliance. Sally Tobin, can you wave, is a biologist and retiree of the Stanford Center for Biomedical Ethics. She's a member of the Point Molate Alliance, the Richmond Shoreline Alliance, and the Bay Area Sea Kayakers, among others. She serves on the board of the Citizens for East Shore Parks and lives in Richmond, as do I. Our Zoom administrator is Janet Johnson. She's co-coordinator of the Sunflower Alliance, co-chair of the Richmond Shoreline Alliance, and victorious lead organizer of No Coal in Richmond. David Hellbarg is a co-moderator with me, and he's the writer, executive director of Blue Frontier, an ocean conservation group, and David is also a Richmond resident. David, would you like to introduce the speakers?
Sure. Start with Jeff Peterson, who's a longtime Richmond resident and avid bird photographer. Jeff teaches English at the College Preparatory School in Oakland. He's a hawk watcher with the Golden Gate Raptor Observatory. I'll refrain from giving my raptor rap. And this semester, he's teaching a course on avian literature at College Prep called Flying Home. We're also fortunate today. We've got Jack Scheinman joining us for the Q&A. I think many of you have already seen his recent photos of a river otter taking out a leopard shark in the Point Molate eelgrass on Earth Day, which seemed appropriate. He's been an East Bay resident since 1980, has worked in Richmond's Rubicon Bakers for over 20 years. He's a self-taught photographer, and his passion for Point Molate started about 20 years ago, he says, when he attended a child's birthday party at the Chevron Rod and Gun Club. He's been doing great documentation of it ever since. So let's start the evening, Jeff.
All righty, thank you very much. Thanks everybody for coming. Let me attempt to share my screen. And I think I have done so successfully. All right. So we begin with a gorgeous photo of Jack's, the sort of iconic landscape photo to kind of orient us. Jack and I met online in the context of photography, and so this is I'm just delighted to get to celebrate his photos and share them with you. So that's where we begin with this shot that you've seen, I think, in the banner form. You've probably also seen it on a billboard. I have a shot of that later to share. Last summer, Golden Gate Audubon Societies put out this wonderful little piece on Point Molate to just start there with their title, Save Point Molate, a National Treasure. It is indeed. And the opening reminds you of just what the size is that we're talking about, 413 acres. They say include the last undeveloped, unprotected headland and developed serially. So not so much undeveloped, but certainly unprotected. And that's really what's at stake. The point's hillside and shores are home to 600 plant and animal species, including over 140 bird species and 4 active osprey nests. And there's an osprey there in the next page of this. More about those guys in a bit. You can see from this map that Point Molate is already inhabited by the species that we were just talking about. This is a map shot from iNaturalist. Almost 4,000 observations, more than 700 species, and about as many identifiers. So you'll notice too, if you look at the little icon there on the side, well, you probably don't recognize it from the little photo icon of the dog with the sunglasses, but that's Jack. So Jack is very, to his credit, is very active on iNaturalist. Most of the photos that we'll be sharing with you tonight come from the Beach Park area. So a much smaller, area, but a suggestively rich one, right, from the standpoint of the larger acreage. I don't know what we're looking at there. Probably a couple 3 acres, right, as opposed to 400 some, but it's dense and rich and worth the fight. This is one of my favorite shots of Jack's, and I'm offering it to you in lieu of a shot of herring eggs. This is what they would look like if heron could lay eggs on a flower. It's that crystalline, it's that kind of globular, and that gorgeous. So one of the reasons that I wanted to start here was to signal that we're going to go into macro photography, into sort of the micro environment, and then also sweep out into the larger landscape. Jack has really covered the whole territory in his work, and so that's why we're starting here. You'll also see compositions like this, artful handlebar symmetry. I presume that's a thistle of some kind. I'm not really sure. And there's a little skipper in the middle. I'm going to cut quickly to the videos, a video itself that will share about, well, a couple hundred images, so it's quite a number. But this is another photo that I really love of Jack's, and you've already sort of seen the composition of it, but I want to emphasize it a little bit by taking you through the panels, right? So we have the great egret and its reflection, right? Its mirror image, which is so beautiful. And then we can see the background, right? And it gets its due with plenty of nose room in the composition. Just a gorgeous photo. In an homage to Ansel Adams, Jack has climbed the hillside and taken the following shot as an echo of Adams. So this is to remind us that this space has a long development history, a long foreground in human contact. And this is a sweeping landscape that reminds me of just how gorgeous the palette is that the place offers and that Jack's photos offer. And I think now's the time to go to the first video slideshow. So I will stop my share and take it away, Janet.
And this is Point Molate very late at night.
It's from our last moth night. You guys can see that moth flapping right there, right? You can see it, right?
Should we move on and come back to this video if it works later?
Which one, again, do you want us to, do you want to show? Do you want to see Jack's photos?
That's right.
Yeah, let me try again. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I thought I played this one. Okay. Nope. Yes, is this it? No. Okay. This is stop. Okay. We'll try once again. Does not. Okay, there's eelgrass. Jack Scheinman. All right. Nope. I'm sorry, it's saying one thing on my computer and showing another. Let me just work this for a second.
I can give it a try on my end if you want to go.
All
to
right.
I can try on my end, whichever you think is best, Jeff.
I'm ready to go.
Okay.
Okay. Just have to make sure that the audio. You want to try yours, Pam?
Sure.
I'm having trouble with. You want to try?
Okay.
Go ahead and try yours.
Okay.
Back on my end, so.
I can't share while other participant is sharing. Apparently, that's still a share is up.
Okay, let me try. Can you share now?
Yes.
Huh? And it's not a world elsewhere, right? It's our backyard, right? It's right here. Not an exotic destination, right? It's just ordinary. And all of those species, right, are available for photo capture. I think in the interest of time, well, I'm just mindful of it. So we have a little bit more video, but let me share a couple of images. I'm going to attempt to share my screen again, and then we'll move swiftly to the video. So hold that image, right, of the great blue heron in the eelgrass beds. Because we're going to spend a little more time in the eelgrass beds in a moment, but I wanted to share this with you to sort of segue into the herring that spawn in the eelgrass beds as well. So there's a little standalone video. It's 2 minutes. It's coming right up. And that's the cue. We'll come back to that in a minute, Pam. I wanted to share this with you because that's a baby Dungeness crab, right? And though that's what lives in the nursery there. So that's a main feature, right, of our local fishing industry, and the nursery, as I say, is right there at Point Molate. I came to birding through fishing because I wanted to know what I was looking at on my kayak. And I came to photography through drawing. And I've been obsessed, as this drawing suggests, with osprey for quite a while. So this is a kind of quick, summation of kind of my coordinates. Not a photograph of mine. And interestingly, I never really got back to drawing. I just got sort of, taken away with photography. And so, right, that's what's animating a capture like this. And it's a great honor to share with you that this photograph was captured in Scratchboard by my friend, dear friend, Josh Sanchez. And this is a detail from a 12-month series of pieces that's exhibit now at Kala Institute in Berkeley. This is the larger piece, and you can see Point Molate back there in back of the bridge, and it suggests the precariousness of our political moment and our environmental moment, just to make sure that that we're kind of seeing things in their full dimensions and their complexity. Right, there's a little osprey feather on the right hand side of the canvas, the Scratchboard canvas. Thanks so much, Joss. And I think very briefly, well, I'll just let you take a look at that. This is a quote this is sort of for my students' sake. And see if I can minimize this so that I can actually read it to you all real quickly. It is not an untouched wilderness like a mountaintop. And McDonald is talking about the Breckland Brecklands in England. And I think this is apropos to Point Molate, but a ramshackle wilderness in which people and the land have conspired to strangeness. It's rich with a sense of an alternative countryside history, a history of industry, forestry, disaster, commerce, and work. And we can map in our own experiences of those things locally. I couldn't think of a more perfect place to find goshawks. Here we substitute osprey. They fit this strange Breckland landscape to perfection because their history is just as human. Their existence gives the lie to the thought that the wild is always something untouched by human hearts and hands. The wild can be human work. Amen. And then finally, another piece of text. And this is really, I think this is really for all people who pay attention, close attention to something, whatever that happens to be. Natural objects are especially gratifying in this connection. In that moment of that little brown bird that's always so inquisitive, that sings reliably, in that moment that I'm thinking about that wren, I'm not thinking about anything else. That's joy. And so sometimes I think we have to recognize the joy that the world didn't give us and that the world can't take away in the midst of the world taking away what it can. inspiring and sobering words from J. Drew Lanham. And I think that takes us to the next video. Pam, you want to share it?
Yes.
So this should run 5 minutes, and then we have a little eelgrass, little dip underwater that runs too. So I think we're in pretty good shape for time. Pam, do you want to go ahead and share the eelgrass clip?
Sure.
Great. That was a subsurface glimpse, and here's a brief look at heron during a spawning event. So the bounty is not merely visible. I'm relieved to report that there are no more videos to share.
Thank you, Jeff. That was great.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you, Janet, too. I want to do a shout out to Janet, who worked so hard to download the videos as well as us. And she, well, she's doing incredibly impactful activism each day as well, and has been a tremendous host, a Zoom host. Thank you, Janet,
Hear, hear.
as well. Are there questions? Please raise your hands, which are sometimes under reactions. Sally will call on speakers, and we'll check the chat for additional questions. She'll also watch the length of questions. Keep them to 1 minute if you can, please. Thanks.
Okay, Sarah, you have a question. You need to unmute.
So Jeff, thank you for them, and I missed Jack's presentation, but on those herring, you say the bounty isn't as obvious, but it was like, I don't know, 30 seconds. The net was in the water and you pull up, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 herring. So what were you comparing the bounty to? Obviously previous times, but.
Well, I mean, certainly not in the decline of the fishery historically, but just to suggest that there are riches right below the surface.
Okay, thank you.
Are there questions?
We have Jack Scheinman here on the call as well, if anyone has a question for Jack.
Oh, Jeannie.
Yeah, Jeff, thank you, and Jack too, for your beautiful photographs, and it's pretty amazing the number of species at Point Molate. I've swum in the bay and I can't see below. I can't see anything below me except for, my hands in front of me. How did you get such clear photos of the eelgrass?
Well, I'm in the very shallow water there off Winehaven. So that's maybe 3 feet of water. And I've got a GoPro on a selfie stick. And I'm just doing a kind of little tour right under my kayak. So just very shallow water. And it's pretty murky, really, but it gives you kind of good sense of what the grass bed is like.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Jeff or Jack, could you comment on where you're taking your photos? There's 400 acres at Point Molate.
Mm-hmm.
I could take that one.
Go for it.
Hi, everybody. Typically, I go to the beach parking lot. I'll take a right when I get into the beach. There's a couple bottle brush bushes that have so many species of birds, butterflies, insects. I'll circle around towards the beach, see what's going on there, and then take the path down to the bridge. That's my normal route. I go past Winehaven, walk along the beach there, and there's a concrete slab closer to Winehaven that isn't easy to get into, but if you're persistent, you can. I'll go there every once in a while. Before they started blocking off places, the hill across the street from East Brothers Lighthouse was amazing. Whenever I was able to access that, I had a 360-degree view of the bay. I don't think I have any photos that were shown today on the video from there. And I've gotten access, thanks to Pam, to behind the gate, the hill across the street from the parking lot. And on occasion, I've also gone past no trespassing signs that I couldn't understand. I don't recommend that, but if you do get caught, they just ask you politely to leave. So yeah, that's pretty much where I go when I'm down there.
So Josh, did you have a question?
I did. Their work is so beautiful, both Jack and Jeff. And I actually, Jeff brought me to that bottle brush bush.
Yeah, Earth Day. Yeah.
Yes. So I wonder how much you guys go out there a lot, and clearly you're enamored by this incredibly beautiful place. What's your reaction going to be if it changes? I mean, changes dramatically by development.
Have you read The Monkey Wrench Gang?
That's a good answer.
Probably not. I'm against spiking trees, but I read that book in junior high and it's stayed with me all these years.
Yeah. I can imagine you'd feel that way. Those are beautiful photographs.
Thanks, Josh.
Yeah.
That's exactly the conversation that Jack and I have when we're out there, is talking about, what we can do. This is what we can do, right? To drive up the visibility of this place that, we care about. I was powerfully connected to a place very like this as a kid in Southern California, in the Newport, the Upper Back Bay. It started getting fenced off by Irvine Company signs. So I'm like 9 or 10. And so this is very familiar, a very familiar kind of predicament. Without access, you don't have those foundational, those sedimentary memories, right? And so it's deeply, deeply personal, right? So
yeah,
worth it.
Are there questions, comments?
I have a quick comment that, Jeff, you mentioned there are 4 osprey nests at Point Molate. I don't know how many this year, but there were 13 nests on the peninsula last year. So there are actually quite a lot on the peninsula to
Yeah,
really think about it as the peninsula as a whole.
That's right, and I did quote that from the Audubon piece, and you're quite right. I mean that, and in terms of the bay, I don't know what kind of numbers they're impressive in toto, right? And there's the Mar Island osprey, and it's such an interesting kind of story. It really kind of deserves maybe its own episode. But they're not, it's not like the species that bounce back like the peregrine, for example, right? I mean, it certainly, suffered from DDT and eggshell, problems in its day, but they historically haven't been in the Bay Area. So they just sort of take hold for reasons that are a little bit mysterious in the 80s, and probably has to do with the industrial structures that they like to build on. So it's such an interesting kind of problem. And this is another reason that I wanted to make sure that we have a kind of complicated or a kind of nuanced understanding of what the wild is, right? Because in some ways we owe the presence of osprey to industry. And it's just paradoxical, kind of predicament.
And from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, there was one nest in 2000, and now there's over a dozen. Just seeing how they procreate and how they expand every year, we're going to be looking at a couple dozen nests in the not too distant future, I hope. There's an article that I put on the Point Molate for All page. I think it was at Chesapeake Bay, where there's tens of thousands of osprey there, and maybe someday that could be Point Molate.
And to see more photos of Jack's photos, they're on Point Molate for All on Facebook. And he also runs the Instagram page, Point Molate Alliance.
And I also have an Instagram page that I don't post to either of those places to, if anyone cares to go there and look. It's not a private page, so anyone can go and look at them.
So, I don't know, as you know, my career as a journalist, I worked with some great late war photographers, John Hoagland and Richard Cross, and more recently wildlife photographer Stuart Paley. But I think what Jeff and Jack have done is, I'd call it life photography, because it's not nature, it's life. It's all the species other than one predator species that's supposed to be intelligent, but not that smart, and as Jeff said earlier, I mean, we don't need thousands of well-to-do human residents in Point Molate, because it already has thousands of residents with, wings and hoofs and claws and flippers and fins and stems. And what photography like yours does, it captures a moment in time and gives us a chance to reflect in awe. And I think when you put all those images of life together, like the slideshow you just showed, it tells a story. And I think that story gives us direction. It gives us an answer, which is how you save the planet. You save it 400 acres at a time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I think we're all privileged to see your work, and the 25 of us who have been here have to make sure that thousands of others see this work, because it's important. It's a key element in our struggle.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Jack. Yeah.
I was just going to say, besides the photos that we have, on Earth Day, I was speaking with people, and behind the fence across the street from the beach parking lot, there's evidence of mountain lions, cougars, or bobcats, wild boar, coyotes. I mean, there's so much more there that we haven't seen yet. I'm planning on getting back there and putting up a couple trail cams, so hopefully we will get to see them one of these days. But yeah, if that development goes through, none of that would be there, unless they're there to steal somebody's baby.
which is why we're not going to let it.
There you go.
For me, the story is about interconnectedness, right? And that's the story of ecology. When I was arranging the slides, I put them in a PowerPoint and I grouped everything in the kind of classic academic way, like with like, right? And then I thought, oh heavens, right? This is going to be dreadful, this sort of forced march through the species. And then I decided to dump them into a kind of automated slideshow program. And I was moved by the result because those juxtapositions, right? Those transitions make the argument. Everything is interconnected. It's all a weave.
When the property was turned over from the Navy to the city, that was in late 1990s, and then another section in 2004. It's been fenced off since then, the entire time. And the citizens group for Point Molate opened up that 11-acre beach park where most of these photos were taken. I know Jack gets into some great places, but for the most part, this is the biodiversity of 11 acres.
That's right.
There's 400 acres at Point Molate, 300 upland, and about 90 acres subtidal. And those subtidal acres are incredibly rich, as Jeff showed you. And the dilemma for all of us, from those who've been fighting for Point Molate since 2004, has been showing it to the public. And no one before Jeff and Jack had done that. And it was always represented by developers and by our mayor as having really nothing there. And when you ride through, until you have an eye like Jeff and Jack to show you, for the average person or for many people who drive through, don't see all of this, and much of it we can't see. And so that's the sort of the gift that Jack and Jeff have given to all of us, and is to make this place visible to the public and worth saving for the public to see what really is at stake.
Thank you, Pam. All right, we've got 3 minutes left. Any last comments, concluding remarks, requests for more, please?
I request more photos. Keep shooting.
We're on it.
You'll get it. I have a dog that needs walking. I can't think of a better place to walk him.
These photos have been incredibly inspirational to me, and as a visual artist, and a person who goes to Point Molate pretty regularly, I admire these guys very much in their work, and I thank them very, very, very much for what they're doing. Thank you. It's a beautiful document that you do.
Thanks, Joss. And everybody, much gratitude all around. Thank you, David. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Janet and Sally. Till next
I'd
time.
also like to thank everyone too. Whenever I first started doing this, I thought I have the easy job. Pam, everyone with the Point Molate Alliance, you guys put in the real work. I would be doing what I'm doing regardless. This is just more inspiration.
Thanks, Jeb, but it takes all of us and more of us. So please reach out for us and for Point Molate.
Oh, you bet.
Well, let's give them a round of applause. Thank you very much, Jack and Jeff.
See y'all down there.
David, would you like to close? Final comments?